For USCFootball.com, Connor Morrissette and Chris Trevino were here on campus after USC's Tuesday practice of Iowa week. Chris, the Trojans, number 17 in the latest college football playoff rankings. They're 7-2 on the year. They have everything ahead of them. They're doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's exciting to be covering, a team with some playoff implications, some big games on the horizon, and some meaningful games. So really excited about that. Got Iowa coming to town, homecoming, 12:30 kick. Should be fun.
Chris and I were looking at four guys who came out to practice today who picked up injuries in that game against Northwestern. King Miller had a shoulder stinger, and at the end of the game he talked and said he was fine. He was out there today. It looked totally normal, so that is great news. USC at the running back spot is already pretty thin, and King's been a great story, so glad to see him doing well. Big General Reed, Marcellus Williams, and Tanuk Hines. Hines was questionable in that game. I don't think he played in the second half after catching that nice pass on the fake punt and being involved in the first half. All three of those guys suited up. Hines, I think, is pretty a good bet to play. Williams and Big General Reed for Saturday, I put him as questionable right now, but everyone has a shot for sure. And Miller and Hines, I think, are certainly playing.
Yeah, when you have the pads on, that's always a good sign. And we did see Big General come out last. His ankle was heavily taped. Obviously, it was an ankle injury that he suffered there late there in the fourth quarter and brought Killian O'Connor back in. But yeah, he had his ankle heavily taped. I was a little surprised he was actually dressed out, but he has pads, he had his helmet, he has cleats on. Wasn't moving that smoothly, but the fact that he was actually out there in pads was a decent sign. But again, USC has a very capable backup in their season opening starter. Killian O'Connor looks like he is back. So USC, obviously you would like to have both of those guys healthy, but at least they have the depth at the center position.
It's interesting because O'Connor did come in when Reed got hurt, and then he played with the backup offensive line in garbage time. Against Nebraska, O'Connor was warming up with the third-string quarterback, Sam Heward, and it looked like he was an emergency-only guy. And then against Northwestern, he was the backup, which leads me to believe he could have potentially started, but maybe Reed had beaten him out because O'Connor had missed some time. Well, now Reed goes out potentially, and O'Connor will be good. It's been a revolving door at that position, and I got to give the coaching staff credit. When O'Connor won the job, we were kind of like, well, you brought in this transfer. Is that a good sign? Is it not a good sign? They've needed both these guys this year, and it looks like there's going to be a potential another change, I would guess, for Saturday, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's been plenty of center snaps up for grabs between those two guys. And yeah, Killian O'Connor was definitely an emergency-only option for Nebraska. More healthy for the Friday night game. Maybe could have started, maybe just because of the short week. They just wanted to keep January rolling because, he's been the starter for multiple weeks, just kept him going. But wouldn't be surprised, if we saw a different starter this weekend where Killian reinserted. But we'll see how Reed progresses throughout the course of the week.
We could put the fake punt stuff to bed today. Lincoln Riley was asked about that play and just if he's heard from the Big Ten Conference after they released that statement that said that the play was legal, but Sam Johnson should have been potentially penalized for wearing the same number as Sam Heward later in the game when he attempted that first punt, because you're not allowed, I guess, to wear the same number and play the same position, which is very confusing when you see stuff happen all the time, little weird wrinkles. Maybe there's a receiver playing defensive back who they would switch numbers, but you just see that sometimes. What I'm trying to say is the play was totally legal, and Chris, we've talked about this off the air. I was just kind of surprised at how it was covered, where a lot of people nationally ran with USC ran an illegal play and they should have been penalized for it. That's not the same. The play was legal and they could have potentially been penalized later, and they weren't. I was just disappointed with how that was covered, and I think when USC fans talk about, oh, everyone hates us and it's us against the world, that was an example of that, I felt like, because if Ohio State runs that play, I would bet the coverage would be different, unless it was a Michigan reporter who was covering it. I think they'd say that was a smart move and they should have been penalized later in the game, and they weren't. I don't really like how this has been characterized, and people who watch this know I try to tell you what I think, and if I think USC's doing something wrong, I'll tell you. I don't know why USC has been so maligned with this.
Sorry, it was backwards hat, Lincoln, so I'm going to go my backwards hat when we talk about this because, as I mentioned on the Helium Boys, USC kind of the bad boys of the Big Ten Conference now, with getting fined and, with the injury report and now this, and obviously a lot of people were on Twitter outraged about this. A lot of Twitter accounts, you talk Bush League, this is illegal, this is not dirty, but it's against the rules. Whatever you might think, as you said, the fake punt was legal. It was a issue with Sam Johnson coming in on the first actual official punt that they took.
And let's play that out. If he gets penalized for a 15-yard penalty, guess what? They're still punting, and it's just 15 yards backwards. That's a big nothing.
That's the fine they would take, the 15-yard penalties
Yeah.
pull out. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great talking point. As you said, that USC fans or fans across the country love to hate on USC for all that they have, and doing something like this, just boils their blood for whatever reason, because they are wearing the cardinal and gold and they have the Trojan on. It's just they love to hate USC, and this kind of did definitely feel like one of those moments where, yeah, trick play, get it done. Maybe you're gushing about it in any other team, but I think you're right. I think this is a little bit of a jealousy is maybe too harsh for a word, but just people love to hate USC.
I give Northwestern coach David Braun a lot of credit, too. He just said we weren't prepared for it. He took that one on the chin and moved on. I talked about how I liked him last week. I still like David Braun. I think he's got Northwestern going in the right direction. But USC, of course, had a nice time in the second half against the Wildcats, winning 38-17, which has set everything up for the Trojans to potentially make the college football playoff if they can win out. That was a big talking point today. Lincoln Riley has talked a lot about how right now we're just in the trenches. There's no time to reflect right now. We just need to focus one day at a time. And he said on Trojans Live yesterday, this is a big opportunity and this game is different, but we need to keep in mind that it's 1 week at a time. And that's sort of what he came back to today. Didn't talk as much about how this Iowa game is different, just that he was asked about maybe the motivation for this week when you got Oregon coming up, and didn't take too kindly to that one. It's a week-by-week game, and USC right now is in the throes of a playoff race, and it's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, you can't look ahead, because if you do, you're going to stumble and you're going to fall flat on your face, and it's going to be over just like that. The weeks are building. The pressure is building week to week. Obviously, that Nebraska game was big. Had to get that one on the road. They got it. Northwestern, short week, a lot of pressure just with the condensed week. They got it. Now it's Iowa. Iowa's tough. They've only had the 3 losses are all to ranked teams, and they've been by a combined 10 points. This is going to be a knife fight. This is going to be a true Big Ten fight, stabbing me right there in the stomach. But this is going to be a tough game. I know most of that pressure is going to be on the Oregon game. That is the one they have to win if they want to do this, and they haven't won there since 2011. But to be able to have that conversation, you have to get through these Hawkeyes, and Kirk Ferentz and Lincoln Riley, a little bad blood. Some comments that have been made over the late years. So I think there's going to be a lot of juice for this one. The Coliseum should be rocking. I talked to King Miller about that. He's hoping it's going to be a crazy environment there. So got to get through this week. The pressure is on. As we saw, a lot of media members here at practice today got the TV crews out. That's what happens when USC winning. These games are more and more important, and USC is going to have to step up to the plate if they want to keep this ride going.
Iowa number 21 in the latest college football playoff rankings, so it'll be 17 against 21 inside the Coliseum. I think USC is a 6.5-point favorite. Chris, I don't know if you've looked at your weather report lately. There's a potential for some atmospheric rain Saturday. Maybe by 12:30 that'll be done, but Thursday, Friday, and potentially Saturday is looking wet. I asked Tobias Raymond, have you guys talked about that at all? Has that been mentioned this week? He said, I didn't even know it was going to rain. So they haven't gotten there yet. And maybe they're smart, because in Southern California, who the heck knows what's going to happen day to day with this rain. It could look like a big storm, and then you blink an eye, it's 70 and sunny again. That doesn't sound like it was on the offensive line's mind. Is it on your mind as someone who's going to be on the field? And I think that has to favor Iowa, right?
Oh, absolutely. Iowa is bringing this rain. I don't know what kind of rain dances they're doing out there in Iowa City, but they have done something, because I think multiple weeks ago, there were people on the Peristyle, they were like, it's going to rain, it's going to be bad weather.
That's true.
And then a lot of people were like, that's like 3 weeks out. What are you talking about? And then that last week, it was going to be clear. And now, start of this week, now it says the rain's going to be back. So I don't know. It keeps flip-flopping. I don't know what's going to happen, but it would benefit Iowa, obviously. And already they have a really strong defense, and throwing against this Iowa defense is going to be really tough, and running is going to be really tough. And then throw in the elements, it's going to make things a little bit tougher in a place where, USC has the advantage at playing at home, and we know they play really well at home. I don't think I've ever covered a USC home game in the rain, obviously, because it's so rare to happen. So I don't know what that combination is gonna yield for USC. I know they play well at home. This is a great defense they're going up against, and now you bring in the weather and possibly rain, slippery ball. I don't know. It's going to be very unique. It's going to be a wild game on Saturday, I feel like. Low scoring, I think, but wild one.
Iowa gives up 13 points per game this year, which is good for the 4th best mark in the country. They're also 4th nationally in total yardage, which is just the total yards allowed. So they do a nice job. Both facets there. Good secondary, good defensive line.
They've only allowed 4 passing touchdowns this year, which is first in the nation with Ohio State. That's crazy.
They run the ball well, but they don't pass the ball particularly well. I think they're 131st nationally.
33rd.
133rd.
They're worse than last year.
It got worse. Mark Gronowski can run, so he's their quarterback. That helps. I look at it similarly to the last few weeks, Chris, where I think USC should still be able to outscore this Iowa team, but when you stack up Iowa, Nebraska, Northwestern, I think Iowa's the best of that group, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, just complete defense. We were talking about the secondary, Nebraska compared to Iowa. Who's better? But I think overall, this is the best defense they have faced this season.
Let's get back to USC, though. So King Miller spoke today. You heard from him, a few other guys like Tobias Raymond, as I mentioned. What were the takeaways from Miller?
Obviously, I asked Miller, about the environment this weekend. He says he hopes it's loud, he hopes it's crazy, and we did double ask him about his injury. He did get that little stinger there at the end of the game. He says he's feeling good, had a smile on his face, was in his pads, looked good. So very excited about this opportunity. And one of the things we did talk about was he was recently named to the semifinalists for the Burlsworth, I believe that's the name, trophy, which is to honor the number one former walk-on in the country. I mean, that's kind of how it's been rephrased because there's not a lot
of walk-ons
doing what King Miller is doing.
Makes the story so great.
And I was going through the list. I haven't completed, but he might be the only one who is still an actual walk-on who is a semifinalist out of the 10 names on this list. So he said it was an honor to be in a position like that because you don't always get those opportunities. And he's just kind of living the dream, as he's continued to say, and very, very honored to be on that list. And he was asked about, he is going to be a former walk-on, and obviously there's a lot of USC walk-ons, and he was asked, are you still like tight with those guys and you still talk with those guys? He was like, yeah, those are still my boys, and obviously those guys were on the scout team and bond together and all as walk-ons on the team. And he was just like, yeah, I talk to them all the time. It's like you never know when your opportunity is going to be called. So he is still kind of like he's the folk hero for the walk-ons because he's literally the starting running back at USC right now. He's just kind of worked hard, and here it is, the opportunities have presented himself, and he's having a memorable, like borderline legendary season as a current walk-on.
It's been phenomenal. One of the stories of the year for sure. Other story, a big one that is the offensive line. They've been phenomenal as well for the most part with all those changes, guys going out, guys coming in. Alani Noah, I asked him today, what's it like for you, guy who's been here a few years now, to have all of USC's team goals still ahead of you this late in the year? And he said it's really exciting, and Lincoln Riley does a really nice job of framing our mindset. He talked about how it can get a little negative sometimes, just in general, and the message this week from Lincoln Riley, it sounds like, has been every goal that we set at the beginning of the year is still ahead of us. And Alani Noah had a big smile on his face when he said that. I think he speaks for the rest of the group, too. They're in a good place.
Yeah, I think the vibes were high when they were coming out to practice.
Yeah.
I think they know, we got 3 really important games, and the first one is right now against Iowa. We got to take care of business, continue to take care of business, and they're in a fun opportunity, and a fun opportunity for us to cover, a team. If you think back to last year, we weren't
Morale was low.
Morale was low, and right now it's high, and that's how college football is sometimes. Sometimes you got a team that can make some noise, and USC certainly has one that has the opportunity to make some noise, and we'll see if they can do that.
I got 2 more questions. First, any final thoughts before my final question?
No, not really. I did think that I like the energy that they came out with and all that, and this does seem like a team that's ready to try to go on a run. At least that's kind of the energy I was feeling for practice, which was a little bit earlier today, by the way, because Veterans Day, no classes, so they moved it up just a little bit.
You covered USC that first year with Riley. I started the following season. I don't remember him wearing this backwards hat until the last couple weeks. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Does it mean anything?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I
don't know either.
I feel like maybe there was like a one random practice where he was rocking the backwards hat, maybe. But again, it's just something like that's so uncommon and rare, and we see it. It's like, oh, he's walking the backwards hat. That's not usually how it is. So much so that I have to comment on it. So we're going on 2 weeks now where he's rocked the backwards hat. I don't know what it means. Maybe he's just feeling backwards hat. Maybe he is embracing the bad boy of the Big Ten? I don't know, because I don't know. That's kind of the vibe right now.
Let's just say it has our antennas up, but we don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means. Everything has meaning, but I don't know what this means.
Well, we'll keep doing our job and try to get to the bottom of it. He's Chris Trevino, Connor Morrissette. This has been Instant Analysis from USC's Tuesday practice of Iowa week. I'll be back with Riley Sager tomorrow, and we'll see you in the Coliseum on Saturday.
Shout out to all the veterans, because it is Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Great call. We'll see you next time.